My name is Raheleh Fisoofi. I'm a multimedia artist, and this is my Artaxis conversation for 2018. As a conceptual artist, I had a hard time trying to define industry in relation to my own work. Even though I create vessels and other ceramic objects, I never considered myself to be a potter. The Artaxis prompt about Karl Marx and the Industrial Revolution evokes images of heavy industry and social revolution in the 19th century, but I thought this must be only a partial image of the term industry. So I thought it was the best to investigate the wider meaning of industry first. I decided to speak with a friend who is an art historian and archaeologist, Dr. Brian McConnell from Florida Atlantic University. In archaeology, the term industry is used in connection with chipped stone tools, the kind of things that early man made in order to survive. Stone tools of Neanderthals are said to be in the Mousterian industry, which is named after an important archaeological site in southern France. In this context, an industry is a recognizable set of objects that are produced in many different locations, things that people commonly understand and use, like a chopper, scrapping tools, etc. The objects represent a standardization of production. People know what they are and how to make them. And they also represent a way of thinking that appears at a particular point in history or a particular place in the world, or both. The point here, too, is that you don't have to have Marx and 19th century smokestacks to have an industry. The term industry also implies repetition and practicality, a useful rather than an aesthetic thing. When something is called industrial, it just isn't artistic. The famous contemporary artist Ai Weiwei took large Neolithic ceramic vessels and covered them with acrylic paint. His point was to contrast the preciousness of the prehistoric vessels and their fetish-like treatment by archaeologists and museum goers with the common industrial characters of their origins. The acrylic paint, another fundamentally industrial material, seemingly transformed the ancient ceramic into a contemporary one and thereby devalued it. What seemed not to be considered was the fact that one cannot make an ancient vessel again. The items have a unique quality to them, even if they appear in multiples, because they're ancient and they have become a limited resource. We say that something is industrial when it is widespread, when lots of examples are made, more than just a few copies. This leads us to another idea, that something is industrial when it is part of the economy, when it has monetary value, and it's produced by an administrative order in which there are owners and workers, bosses and employees, people that decide and people that produce. So, if an industry is a recognizable set of objects, a common technology, a common way of thinking, a repetition, practicality, and a complex order of production in large scale with monetary value in economy, where do I stand as a conceptual artist? Well, I believe I stand on the shoulders of my ancestors. I'm from Iran, and I'm proud of the place that clay holds in the prehistoric and Persian cultural tradition of that country. Although my ancestors produced ceramics and tiles of high quality in repetition and for very practical purposes, there is an individuality that rises above the specific object. It is not just the product itself, but the conceptual approach and practice that defines the ceramicists. As an artist of my own generation, I privilege the conceptual basis of my production and I seek to engage my work in the issues of the moment. I integrate my work in clay with the technology of other media through installation. For example, one installation, Only Sound Remains, combines vessels, sounds, video, and text. The unglazed vessels have architectural shapes which serve as containers that hold memories in the form of sounds. The whole is revealed by the investigation of its individual component. In both installations, there are repeated forms that maintain their individuality, and the whole becomes greater than the sum of its own components precisely because of its individuality. In each of these projects, I've had to learn new techniques and work with specialists such as sound engineers and musicians, as much as an administrator as hands-on practitioner. I take an industrial approach, even though it doesn't produce an industrial level of output. This is how I could define my work in respect to industry. Thank you for listening.